Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. A big welcome to all of you. My name is Laura and I'm delighted that you are joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I am joined by Mohammed Adnan, who will introduce you to Microsoft Fabric, its licensing and its core functionality, which can help organizations to get an overview of Fabric and its feature usage. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC24. So tweet us at us and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out the Learning Hub, which is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Optimizing DAX Fusion with Phil Seamark. This webinar is the 5th webinar of Microsoft Fabric Week, and it takes place tomorrow, Thursday, the 22nd of February, from 9 AM to 10 AM CET. For more information on this webinar, please check out sharepointeurope.com/Microsoft Fabric Week. The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. You can now view the European Power Platform Conference 2024 programme. Get ready for an immersive experience, hot topics and trends, world-class speakers, interactive panels, engaging tutorials, networking extravaganza, and much, much more. You can view the fantastic lineup of tutorials, sessions, and networking by visiting sharepointeurope.com/conference schedule 2024 EPPC, and you can find the link at the bottom of the screen. Here at ESPC, we want to spread the love this Valentine's. This is why we are offering you this limited edition one-time offer, a deal we know you'll fall in love with. So why not infuse a little love into your workday by securing 30% off your ESPC 24 ticket. 2024 is the year to rekindle the flames of your Microsoft 365 passions and inspiration. Discover innovative solutions and time-saving techniques, meet with peers to share and receive ideas, hear the latest news from Microsoft Corporate, and gain genius insight from our knowledgeable speakers. Visit sharepointeurope.com/pricing to snatch up this offer while it's still available. So after the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any question that you might have into the questions window or into the chat, and questions will be selected and answered at the end of the webinar. And as always, this webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Mohammed. Hello, Mohammed. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me here. It's good to be here. Can you able to see my screen? Just want to cross check.
Yeah, we can see your presentation.
All right. Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. Hope you are doing well. And today we are going to talk about introduction to Microsoft Fabric. So I hope you have already gone through a lot of webinars about the same thing, about introduction to Fabric. Yeah, this is one of the best projects from Microsoft since they have launched the company, right? This is a big thing which they have launched. This is an end-to-end unified platform where we can integrate all the data people together, whether it is a data scientist or data engineers, data analysts, or even citizen developers. Everybody can be on the same page. So before going into that, so I just want to have a brief introduction about myself. So I have totally like 17 plus of experience in various Microsoft technologies. And not only that, I have multiple industry experience. Multiple industry experiences like manufacturing, supply chain, construction, workforce, and healthcare. So I have experience in 7+ years of experience in Power BI and 1+ years of experience in Microsoft Fabric. I also have my own YouTube channel, which is named as TIK18, where I mainly focused on Power Platform, Fabric, and now starting up with Azure AI. All right. So, like I said initially, so Microsoft Fabric does it all, which is a unified platform where we can integrate data integration, data engineering, data science, data warehouse, real-time analytics, and also the data activator. So all these things comes under one single data lake, which is called as one lake. So one lake is nothing but a kind of what we call it as one drive for data. So we can have all our data into one single unified platform where everything is a single accessible layer. So we can have a single sign-on, we can have a single unified UI experience. This is actually brought on top of Power BI user experience. So previously, this Power BI had the same look and feel, but now they integrated all this application in the single unified UI experience. And also we can collaborate with each and every other peoples, those who are here. And best part, there are a lot of best things which I really like about Fabric. One of them is like obviously one lake, because we can have data at one single location, and one security. It is still not yet publicly available, but they are still working on one security thing, which is going to be a great thing, which will come in future as well, where we can have a total control of our data in one single place. From there, we can share with the data to other people. And we can have a version controlling on this model as well. And we can have mirroring as well as shortcuts. If you have a data in AWS, or if you have a data in Snowflake, or even Azure Data Lake Storage, we can don't need to copy the data from there to our location. You can just map the data to that location, and it can be live available on Fabric. So it has a unified single experience. So at a high level overview, what is the Fabric is like Power BI plus Synapse workloads, whatever it has been in the Synapse, like Azure Synapse Data Factory and data science, as well as the Azure Explorer kind of thing. So all these Synapse things have been combined together, which is now it's a Fabric. So if you are already using premium version of Power BI, which is a P1, P2, P3, P4, or P5, then by default Fabric is enabled for you. So we can directly use that. If it is not yet enabled on your organization, then in the next slide I will show you. You just need to communicate with your administrator so that they can enable that capabilities for you. So all the Fabric workloads are already built in if you have a premium capacity, and the universal compute even for Fabric workload, no more separate configuration like we do in Synapse. So usually whenever we work with Synapse, we have to define the things here, how many compute engine we need, what are the things here, the subscriptions, and the resource group kind of thing. So all these headaches are no more. It's just as simple as we are going to create an item in like how we do it in Office 365. If you want to create a Word document, if you want to create a PowerPoint presentation, similarly, we had to do it here in Fabric. So that's the differentiation here. And the both and serverless SQL pool and dedicated SQL pool now combine into a data lake house here. And look and feel, like I said, it is similar to Power BI. So user can easily gear up with these things. And it's basically the one platform for data engineer, data scientists, data analysts, and citizen developers as well. So if you're not yet enabled on your organization about Microsoft Fabric, it is basically you just reach out to your admin. Either it can be a Power BI admin or Fabric admin or Office 365, the whole thing. Those who are managing that, they can enable this option by going to the tenant setting in Fabric, and they need to enable this option. There will be chances that because they are still new, so they may not be allowed for all the entire organizations. There are some restrictions they may be in some companies, but still you can reach out to them. They will try to open it up, and then you can make use of these things. All right, so there are few things which you need to understand initially in order to go in the demo. So basically, first of all, let's assume that we have a retail company here, A and B, for example. All right. So either a company can have one tenant, or it can have a multiple tenant as well. But usually you will have only one tenant. And inside to that, we'll have a multiple domains like marketing domain, sales domain, and finance domain. And inside to that, we can create multiple workspaces based on their requirement. This is how in the retail company A, as an example here, the organizational tenant is basically the tenant, which they have got the Fabric license. And inside to that, they have a yellow color, which is a marketing capacity and sales and finance. So domain and capacity is separate things technically, but capacity is basically the license which which you're purchasing for your maintaining your items here. So for example, if you're buying a P1 capacity and you can assign to a workspace, because capacities are assigned to a workspace level, not at the tenant level. So that's why you can have a multiple capacities and you can split those capacity depends on your workloads, and you can create multiple workspaces based on your domain. So here as an example, marketing is a one capacity and sales is another capacity. Let's assume that you do not have much activity in marketing and finance, but you have huge activity on sales. In that case, you can combine marketing and finance in one single capacity, and then in the workspace level, you need to assign the same capacity to both of them. And there is an option about domain. So domain basically help us to split the workspaces between the business domain. So you can have a mention in one workspace as a kind of marketing domain, another you can mention a kind of finance domain. So that's how it is. So it can be multiple workspaces in a single domain, and one domain it can contain multiple capacities for each and every workspaces. One workspaces can have one capacity, but one capacity can have multiple workspaces. So workspaces is nothing but is a kind of folder where we can create files in our Windows 10 or Windows 11 kind of thing. Similarly, we can create multiple items here inside a workspace. Not only Power BI item, we can also create data flows, we can create a Spark notebooks, we can create data science objects and other things. Similarly, we have a retail company B here, where they have actually got a separate tenant for finance and tenant, and another is marketing, sales, and kind of thing. So they can have a multiple tenant, and basically tenant means they have a separate ID, authentication, everything, and they have again need to buy a separate license for each and everything to maintain here. But rest other thing is similar, which is like procurement capacity here, human resource, both of them they can buy a separate capacity, and inside to that they can create multiple workspaces. Okay, so moving on. All right, so before going into that, so first of all, we need to understand the license of how these things work, right? Whenever we used to work with Power BI, we have the Power BI Pro and Power BI PPU, premium per user, and then premium P1, P2, P3 kind of thing. So here in Fabric, there are two things which we need to consider. One is the compute, because we are using multiple resources like Spark engine, we are going to use data flow thing is already there. So this thing is a compute resource, and another is our data storage. So as we are saying here, it is like OneDrive for data. So we are going to store our data in one leg, and that one leg storage is a separate cost. So these two things we need to keep in mind whenever we are going to purchase for a Fabric license. And Fabric capacities are priced uniquely across regions, so you need to also make sure which region you are. It can vary based on your region. And this billing is per second and with a minimum of 1 minute cost, and one leg is billed as pay as you go rate. And then cross region transfer network charges may also apply. If you are in different locations or region in the world, then it may be small charges apply if you are transferring your data. Capacity is to compute. Azure Data Lake storage is for the file data storage cost. Okay, so here there are three types of license which we have in Fabric. So one license is usually which is Power BI premium capacity. If you have it, you can switch to Microsoft Fabric. And we have another thing which is Fabric pay as you go option. Another which you have is Fabric resort instance. So if you are compare between the Fabric resort instance and pay as you go, so if you are starting up your things, then you can start with pay as you go option, because you are not sure about how much data volume which you are going to use. In that case, you can start with pay as you go, because you don't want to pay high amount for the huge compute engine. So for the result instead, if you are familiar with Power BI features, if you are already using P1, then the result instance similar to that is F64. I am going to show you the pricing in the next slide. So it will be similar to that. And point to remember is about Fabric capacity and one leg storage cost and the region where you are. All right, so this is basically the structure of the license, where the Fabric start with F2, F4, F8, and it goes till F2048. That's the compute capacity unit. And what we have it in Power BI P1, which is highlighted here in the blue color. F64 is similar to P1 capacity, or A4, which is the Power BI embedded license. So it is similar to these things. Now, if you remember, Fabric is actually 5,000 US dollar, which is showing up here, which is basically for Eastern US. Whereas the P1 is also cost around 5,000, like 4,995 US dollar for that. So the reserve instance is basically the same as P1 and F64, whereas the pay as you go option, you see, it is actually 8,400. So almost every the plans what they have given here, every SKUs, it is kind of 41% in saving if you are going with the reserve instance for them. If you already have a Power BI Premium, then you don't need to worry about anything. You can directly start using Fabric thing here. But still, you need to monitor your capacity, how you're utilizing your Fabric resources. All right, that's a short introduction about Fabric here, and we'll have a demo here, and we'll go level in depth on these things. So let's go to Fabric here. I log in here to my Microsoft Power BI login here. That's the usual thing we used to do. And then we need to create a workspace here. It's everything is a similar same experience how we have it in Power BI, and we need to create a workspace here. In that case, here let me create a new workspace, which is already created here. Yeah, I will also show you the thing which you need to keep in mind. If you click on this create new workspace, and as usual, you need to give it a name here. If you click on advanced option, and at the bottom you have a few options, which is basically the pro license or trial license or premium per user. Right now I'm using a trial version, so that's why this is enabled here, which is for 60 days trial period. If you just want to starting up with this Fabric trial, you can also try that option. Or if you have already premium capacity, then you can also select this option. All right. So at the bottom of your screen, previously it was not there. After enabling the Fabric only, you will get this experience. On the left bottom, you see this icon here, which is right now I'm in data engineering side. If I click here, then I will see all these things which is available under Fabric thing, which is Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, and this is the industry solution which is newly added, and data engineering, data science, data warehouse, and real-time analytics. So here, if you want to add some data, then we have multiple ways where we can add the data. Like we can regularly use here. If you are in data engineering side, then we can make use of data flow Gen 2, or you can also create data pipelines for that. And if you are getting a live data, then you can make use of event streams for these things. And if you want to write a Spark job as well, you can also create here. So first of all, I would like to go with data factory. That's the way how we need to do the ELT process, which is extract, transform, and load. Or we can also do extract, load, and transform. So it depends how you want to get your data here. So once I click on this data factory here, I get a new UI here, where it is customized for data factory items here, which I can create data flow Gen 2 or data pipeline. Similarly, if I click here for Power BI, then I get this experience. And if I click here for data science, then I get here, I can create ML machine learning models, experiment notebooks, or I can use just samples also here. So clicking here, going back to data factory, and I would like to create a data flow Gen 2. I click here. So data flow Gen 2 I really like is because of one feature where I can say it has a destination. That's a really amazing thing. You get the data from a different source and do the transformation whatever you need, and then load it into a different destination of our choice. That's really an amazing cool feature, which is not available in data flow Gen 1. And other thing what we have it here is the UI is little small changes here. We can use the visual designer on site to this. This is getting things ready. Usually this should be quick. All right, let me try a different tenant. Usually it happens. Whenever we start with a demo, something happens. Okay, while this is loading, if there is any questions on the chat, then I can take that. I'm not sure whether this is an issue with Fabric or my resource. All right, this has come up here. This is a look and feel of the data flow Gen 2, where we have an option as similar as what we have in Power BI Desktop Power Query. And additionally, we have a recent option which is Copilot. So we'll try to get into this one after a bit. So I'd like to add a data here, what I have here on my local machine, which is imported text or CSV. Click here, and here we have an option about either I can link to data which is on the SharePoint, or I can also upload a file locally from this machine. I click here, upload a file, and then I can drag and drop the files here. So I'd like to have this option, which is here. So browse and go to this option, and then I would like to add everything. Let's try. No, it is not happening. So this is drag a file or upload. So I can connect to one file at a time. So for now, I'd like to connect to Fact Internet Sales here and click on Open. This is adding the CSV file. Yeah, this seems all right. So it is added here, and then click on Next. So as you can see, even though I used here upload file options, it is uploaded the file, but the connection it has created here, actually, this is my SharePoint location. So technically behind the scene, it actually upload my data into the SharePoint location, and from there it is actually connecting the file here. That's why it is going up, even though the UI doesn't say that. But behind the scene, it works the same way. This is taking longer than expected. Yeah. The internet is available. Okay, let me add a new one, which is okay. So this has got here. So usually I want to mention these things every time whenever I give demo on the Power BI Power Query side, especially when you are working with text and CSV file. The thing here is it is already detected the Unicode type here and the delimiter inside to that file. And also here the data type detection, it is basically based on first 200 rows, right? So in my experience, it has happened like there was a kind of wrong data after 200 rows. So Power Query will not detect those things at the initial thing because it is selected here for the first 200 rows. So if you are importing a huge amount of file, then you can make use of this option itself, and later on you can change the data type of that column. But if you are just working on a small thing which is not a big data, then I recommend you to use this option based on entire data set. So then what will happen here, it will scan every column, every row of that table, and then decide the data type of each every column, which is here text, and this is number, and this is date, which is mentioned here. So I'm now satisfied with this one itself, so I can just click on create option. So this is going to create a table here in Power Query. Okay, so let's add one more table because with the interest of time, so I'd like to be a bit quick here. Text or CSV. Definitely this looks like my resource issue. So click here and we'll take with dim product here or dim customer. Yeah, we'll see. This is 2.8 MB. All right, click on next. So click on create. All right. So now we'll try using some of the Power Query transformations with the help of Copilot. We'll see how it actually reacts because this is still in preview, as you can see it on the name here. But we'll see. I'd like to select this dim customer and again click on Copilot. So it is now asking me what I'd like to do here. So I want this to merge first name and last name. So as you can see it here, the first name is a different column and last name is different column. And I want this to match first name and last name and add a space between them. All right, and click on send. No actions were done, unexpected action was thrown. Somehow it is not working, so I may need to work here. All right, so let's click on this option and then click here and merge columns. And here the merge column name to be customer name. And separator, I'd like to add a space and click on OK. So this is purely depends on the Copilot is purely depends on the prompt which you are providing it here. Somehow it is not working here. Maybe I need to try it out different thing. All right, so now you can see it has added a customer name. So I'd like to add a different thing which is remove middle name. So maybe there is an issue here for my configuration. Not sure about that. All right. Anyway, so we can click here, right click, and then remove this table. sorry, remove this column here and the small fine tuning here. All right, so we have these two things, and now the main purpose of this thing is I would like to show you there are some features here, where now we have these options. So here on the right side at the bottom, you can see the data destinations. So what it actually does is, if I click here, now I have an option to to upload the data either on Azure SQL or Lakehouse or Explorer or a warehouse here. So I can also load the data in any of these locations as of now. Maybe it will add some more sources in future, but for now these are the sources available here. So right now I'd like to add it to a warehouse where I need to define first. So for that, let's go to a new window here. Meanwhile, I'd like to rename this here as a fact table. Okay, so if I go back to the same workspace now we'll see what has artifact it has created here. So it has created here a data flow. So usually, what's our main purpose is like we need to store everything into one lake, right? So we have not added any one lake here. So first of all, we need to add a one lake here. For that, we need to go to a different options here, or we can also click here and then click on more options. And here we can see all the other options which is available. So in data activator, we have these items, and for data engineering, we have data lake. So clicking on lake house, it is just that it is asking us to give it a name here. So I want to give the name here lake house, which is today's date 2024/02/21, and click on create. As simple as that. So I don't need to give any kind of compute, how much it has to configure and how much it has to take the resource, nothing. It just give the name and it will create everything for you. So this is the lake house icon here. Now if I go back to data factory and click on data destination, for each and every table we need to define that. Before that, I'd like to go back to this workspace here. Now, even though I just created here only one lake house, which is showing up here, and inside of that it has automatically created two different items. One is a semantic model, which is called as Power data set, and now you have another thing, which is SQL analytics endpoint. So what actually is like a lake house? If you want to connect the lake house to your SQL endpoint, then also you can make use of that. So that's an advantage of lake house. So clicking here and clicking on the lake house here in these options, I'd like to get the data from the SQL, from the CSV file, transform the data, and then load it into a lake house. So here for the lake house, I don't need to define any connections or username and password because it is automatically taken for me based on my login, and click on next. So this will load the available lake house which I have. Even though this is lake house, it should not be none. All right, so these are the lake house which is available here, and this is the workspace name demo which I created today. And inside of that, I can see we have these two lake houses, which is I want to use this one. So here you can see it is showing up here data flow staging lake house, whereas on the workspace level, I don't see anything here. So the reason for this is basically previously during that preview time of this fabric, it was actually visible on the workspace itself, and now it is hidden here. The reason is because it is actually a behind the scene process. So I will tell you in a moment about what it actually does. But for now, we don't need to use this one. We have to use this lake house option here. So clicking on the lake house and then give the name here. for the DIM customer and click on next. So once you click on that, it will ask you about few things, which is basically what will happen to the future data. You want to append the data inside to this one, or you want to replace. So ideal option is replace, but if you are working on some other thing, then you can also append this here. Like if you want to add a transaction data on a regular basis with the help of incremental refresh, then you can make use of append option here. And now you can see it has given a message here. Some column names contain unsupported character, should we fix them for you? So basically it doesn't accept any column which contains a space. So here in the customer name, I have a space. So it is asking me, we want to fix it. Yeah, I would like this to fix here. So now the tick option is for every column, right? So if it is, we have not fixed this option means then it will actually ignore that column. And also you can see this customer name, we have a space here, but the new name on the destination, it is underscore here. That's the change it has taken automatically. And click on save settings. Similarly, we need to do this for each and every table here. And now you can see we have it here as a lake house, and the message which is showing up here is lake house table and update method is replaced. For the fact internet cell, we need to do the same thing. But before that, I'd like to tell you one thing. So if I right click on this one, so we previously, whenever we work on Power BI, Power Query, we used to have a two option, which is enable load, and then we have a include in report refresh. So including report refresh is nothing but whenever you want to refresh your data set, then it has to also has to refresh. I mean the semantic model. And enable load is nothing but you want to load this table into Power BI desktop or not. That's the thing. But here, being we are in online and even in Fabric, this enable staging is basically whatever the transformation which you are doing it here, it actually does on the staging lakehouse, and then it will load into your destination. From this CSV file, from this data flow, it will load into the staging layer, and then it will go to the final destination. So that's one thing. But if you don't want to do that, then you can also skip this option. Some of the sources where you want to work here, right? So it actually need to be a staging, and some of the process which you are doing the transformation here, it may require you for the staging options. If you have forgotten about that, then definitely it will ask you when you are accessing the destination option. So click here, and then again I'm going to the lake house for this one, selecting the same lake house options. I don't want to create a new one. Click on next here. Sorry if you are hearing something in the background. Yeah, someone is selling something. So again, I'm clicking on this one. So I'd like to select this here. A new table will be created here. The table name was changed to remove unsupported character in the query name. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't accept any space here. So that's why it has automatically taken an underscore here. So selecting the same lake house here and click on next. And here also the same thing, just make sure about the data type here. Sometimes it may select a different data type. You just need to make sure about that and click on save settings. So here also, if you don't want this to be on the DIM at the staging layer, then you can just right click here and then remove the staging, enable staging. And now the table is in italic font. So we understand that this is not going to have the staging layer. And finally, we have an option here. The good thing is a publish option. So previously in Dataflow Gen 1, we doesn't have any option to save this thing. And even if we close something else, then it will not save. We need to redo everything. But here, the good thing here, we don't need to worry about that. Every step, whatever we do, it saves automatically. And then we can publish it here. And the next thing here is export template. You can see it on the right side. We have export template options. This option actually helps us if you want to do the same process again and again, or if you want to move these Power Query transformations to another workspace, then you can directly export this template and then import it over there. As simple as that. Then it will also take all the connection and transformation for you, and then you can publish the new data flow. It will load into that destination. And click on publish here for now. This will now start to refresh and load the data into the lakehouse. And now you can see it has already added these two staging data flows. I mean, it is still not hidden here. That's cool to see here. I want to highlight one thing here is like you don't need to delete these staging data flows. If you do so, then everything will collapse. You have to do whatever you have done so far for the lake house. You have to do everything again from the beginning. So it's not going to cost you anything here being at this workspace. Maybe it will hide in future, but please don't delete this thing while you are working on your real project. All right, this is taking to load into the lake house. We'll work on that. So while this is loading here, let's have a look into the lake house. And we have still few minutes. Yeah. All right. So now this is, see, you can see already it has taken up one table here, which is still loading up here. The lake house, we have it here, which is showing up here. And right now it has directly gone into SQL endpoint. That's good. Okay. So usually whenever you work on a lake house, we will have two modes here. One is the lake house mode, another is the SQL endpoint, where you can select either of these two. And if you want to upload some files, you can directly upload the files here. And then, or if you want to convert these files into a table, you can create a table here. The triangle symbol, what you see it here, is basically refers to a delta lake table. So which is a Parquet file which is showing up here. And we can see the data on this table in the lake house. So this is basically the one which we want to create. We have added two tables, which is DIM customer and internet sales. And from here, if you want to get the data again onto this lake house, you can directly go from here. We can upload a file. We can also add using a data pipeline, Gen2, or shortcut, or even event stream, or even also Spark notebook. So whatever options we have, if you are a data science developer, then you can make use of notebook. If you are a, like me, Power Query kind of developer, then you can use of data flow Gen2. If you're working on a live stream, you can also do that. If you are a data pipeline, data factory, data engineer people, then you can also use data pipeline. So it's like I said, multiple people can work into a single project at a single place. That's the beauty of the Fabric. Right, so we have this here, and now by default, it will have a default data set as well. We can make a report on top of that. But before that, I would like to click on this SQL endpoint. So you have a thing like two tables are here. You want to build a report, you can easily go and build the report here. Now you can see this is the internet sales, and this is Power DIM customer. If I click here, then it will load the data here. All right, so here on the right, top right, we have option manage default Power BI semantic model. If I click on that, it just gives an option here. Select or deselect object for semantic model. Only object that can be added to semantic model are shown here. So you want to, by default, that is, we need to add that into semantic model itself. So we don't need to worry about that. So if you click on the reporting layer and click on manage semantic, the automatic update of semantic model. So click here. So these two tables are automatically going to add into Power BI dataset. Whenever we have a new data inside to that, it will automatically update into the dataset as well. So successfully updated the semantic model. All right. So here we can also create views if you want. If you want to customize some view, you can also create here query. And this will open up a SQL query window where you can type your SQL statement. Select star from DIM customer, or I'll use here top 10. Select here and run. So this is going to load you the top 10 customers here. And we have option here save as view also. So click here, and this, for this particularly, this will save the text of your SQL query as a view. Make sure the SQL syntax for the view is corrected below. So this is how it will look like. But first of all, in order to create that, you need to select your query here. You need to select your query and then click on save as view. And you need to give it a name here. I'd like to give DIM view top DIM customer. And then click on OK. Now you can see under the view, it will add one more thing, which is it is refreshing now. You can see it is added one more thing here. That's how cool. So even though I added here, if you are not kind of Power Query data modeling expert, then you can, if you are a SQL expert, then you can create views here in the SQL. And then if I go to model here, which is the third option at the bottom, here you can see the tables here, which is the DIM customer here. And there are some additional tables added here, which even execute his request query, and these are also added here. You see the three things are added here. I think we just need dim customer, fact internet sales, and top dimension dim customer. Other thing we can hide here. You can just click here and then is hidden to be true. You can select here because you don't want the end user to be shown this one. So clicking on no run queries. This can be helpful for an admin to prepare report something on that thing, but not for now. All right, so this is actually the all tables and default dataset object what we have it here, where you can see the fact internet sales and dim customers. So that's how the difference between here. And now, if we want to build a new measure or a new report, first of all, we'll get a new measure here. So select this fact internet sales and then click on new measure. So everything we can do inside the web browser itself, right? So we don't need a Power BI stuff here. That's how cool it is. So I would like to add fact internet sales where it has sales amount. Yeah, all right. Sum of sales, which is sum sales amount. This is the one. Hope you can see there. This is a regular tax formula, and then click on OK. This will also add a new measure inside to this table. All right, this is added here, where I can see that. Okay. So now finally we can build the report here. Let's refresh this just to show that it is added. All right, I'm not able to see it here. Okay, no issues. We can just click on this one, which is new report. It's going to create a Power BI report with it connected to this data lake. And you can see we have added these two different dim customer and fact internet sales here. And we can build a report on top of this. Like for example, I think we have not built the relationship between these two things. So that we need to go back, which is here, Lakehouse model. All right, so here the default data set, you can see there is no relationship between these two things. So first of all, we need to create a relationship, which is customer key and customer key here. So this is many to one, right? And click on OK. And then if I click on new report here, this will create a new report. So let's close this. All right, if I go back here, yeah, the relationship is there, and click on new report. Yeah, it is added here. So now I'd like to add the customer name, which is added here, customer name, and then the sum of sales amount, the measure. Yeah, I can see the measure now. So the two of them is added here. This is basically the transformed column, which is customer name. And now you can see the sum of sales, which is showing up here. Even though the relationship is added, but somehow it is showing the same result for everything. But if I remove this and take the customer key from the fact itself, yeah, now I can see it here. So I think it is taking a bit time in order to generate the link between the fact table and the relationship. So we'll save this file and give it a name here, customer sales, and click on save. All right, this is a reading view now, and let's go back to the workspace. And here we have a customer sale, which is data flow Gen 2 as well, and the staging data flow, and also the lakehouse here. So if I click here on the lineage view, which is on the top right, if I click here, I can see the lineage of these things, which is basically the data flow Gen 2, which is getting the data from the web, which is basically the upload file. And from here, we have built this lakehouse, and the lakehouse is actually, we have a SQL endpoint. From here, we build the semantic model, and from there, we build this report, right? And if I go back to this lakehouse again, let's go back to everything and clicking here, the list here, and click on lakehouse. I can see these two tables here, and if I click on SQL endpoints, yeah, here also you can see the SQL endpoints. All right, in the reporting, I can see this thing here. Okay, here on the bottom, we have a model where we can see the relationship between the tables. Meanwhile, it is loading, so let's refresh this next tab. If I open this one again, and I can customize hereafter. So edit here on this one, and I'd like to add the customer name for this. Not again, it has again taken a bit time. All right, while this is loading, I think that was the end of the session I thought to discuss today, because this is a introduction to Fabric. So this is the kind of thing where we can do everything on the web, getting the data from different sources and do the transformation based on our desired tools and technology. And then we can go into a different destination. And from there, we can build the data set, which is a semantic model, and build a report Power BI on top of that. So everything can go on the browser itself, and everything, multiple people can work into a single unified experience. That's what the main thing to discuss today. If there are any questions, then I can take up that. Yeah, there is, seems to be still an issue with the relationship here, but it is not loading up here for some reason. Usually this is fast, but all right. Yeah, that's the thing.
Hi, Mohammed. Thanks so much for a great presentation and a great demo. It was really insightful and great to see Microsoft Fabric there. So we'll get straight into the questions now. So again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions window and Mohammed will answer them at the end. So the first question in here is, someone is asking, is there additional costs for running ADF workflows or pipelines, or is it covered with the Fabric capacity SKUs assigned to workspace?
Yeah, it is actually added everything. If you have a Fabric capacity, then it includes all the workloads. It covers all the workloads of your Fabric. The only thing which you need to keep in mind, like you can have this look into the capacity metric app, which is from Microsoft itself. The resources how you are going to use here. For example, if you are running a Spark notebook and it is taking a use capacity for you, then it will slow down other resources. Like if you are refreshing a semantic model at the same time, then it will have an impact on the refresh issue, but there is no additional cost for that. It is the single unified cost.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mohammed. So another question then, someone's asking, does it auto scale if it reaches maximum capacity, or do we need to upgrade the SKU?
Yeah, that's a good options. For Power BI Premium, we have these auto scale options. For Fabric, I think it is not available for now. Maybe it will come in future. But even for this also, I would recommend the same thing. Like you need to have a level depth analysis of your capacity metric app, and you need to monitor your artifact with the items which is taking the longer time. If, for example, every day you are at the peak of your capacity, then you may need to reconsider the thing whether you need to buy with additional capacity or not. If it is for a certain period of time or for some specific reason, then you need to take a decision that it can be used change the period of refresh whenever you want to run this like Spark job or a data flow refresh kind of thing. You may need to realign the timings for that. These are the other workaround where you can make the best use of your capacity.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mohammed. So another question then is there a way to assess what CKU I need before I start using it, or SKU, apologies. So is there a way to assess what SKU I need before I start using it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. So basically, like I said on the demo itself, there are many capacities which we have on the license. Yeah, this one. So I recommend here, if you are already P1, then it is you have a F64 license for that, so you may not see any difference here. But if you are just starting up with Fabric thing, then I recommend you to start with F2, which is basically F2 or F8 kind of thing. So that is the least amount where you can pay like $1,000 as a reserve instance per month, or you can also go with a reservation if you want like 625, or you can also go with pay as you go. By going with the lower SKU, it will help you to save the cost, and also it will help you to monitor how your things working on. So you can again need to look into the capacity metric app to monitor your resource utilizations. So there you will get a clear picture about whether you need F2, F8 or F32 kind of thing. And one more thing here I would like to highlight here is like, if you are using F64, which is P1 license, then all the premium features which is applicable, you will get the same as Power BI. But if you are going lower to that, like even F2, F4, F8, F16 or F32, what will happen is for every user, you need to buy a separate Power BI Pro license. Like not only for the developers, which is the default for Power BI Premium or Fabric F64, but even for the viewer, you need to have a separate Power BI Pro license. So you need to also make sure about that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mohammed. So that is all the questions that we have in here today. So we might just wrap up the Q&A session there. But I just want to say, on behalf of the ESPC community, a huge thank you to yourself, Mohammed, for taking the time to carry out this webinar today. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be here, even though I'm speaking this first time, but it has a good audience I see here. Lots of good questions on this one. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day ahead.
So that is it, the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today. Take care, and I hope that you'll join us again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.